Hey guys, so today we are going to answer the subscriber question, Frederick, what is CSS? So let's get into it. Well, CSS, my friend, stands for Cascading Style Sheets, and to put it, well, to make this the simplest explanation that I can make, we have to give you a bit of context. So the way that if you go to your browser, the bare bone minimum that you need in order for your browser to actually show you anything meaningful is an HTML file. Now you can actually load your HTML file just locally on your own file system. You can actually just select a HTML file that you have on your computer and ask your browser to open that. Now usually that HTML file is coming from some server on the internet. You go out on the internet and some server, so you connect to some domain name, right, and then you see something. That's basically what's happening. An HTML file has gotten sent to your browser, and that HTML file contains a sequence of tags, and these tags is basically a rule system that your browser understands to do various things. Now, it used to be the case that that was all there was to the internet back in the really old days, and basically you only allowed the browser to do the styling, because all you're really doing is that you're sending text with these tags, and some text could be bold, some could be italic. You had tags for this sort of stuff, right? But for the most part, it was just text, right? And then people got this idea that, hey, it would be really nice, because originally the internet was actually made to just show these documents. So the idea here was that, all right, maybe we can make them a little bit more appeasing to the human eye, so we will add the ability to style these tags, if you will. So you could actually add an attribute to each of these HTML tags and say something like color red or blue or something of that nature to make the text whatever color you wanted, right? Or the supported colors at least. And this got really popular, like the adoption of this idea, go figure, people actually like things to be kind of pretty or nice looking when they're looking at stuff, right? It makes it easier when, you're consuming these documents, right? So people started working with this. Now the problem here is that, as you may imagine, if you have a lot of styles and each tag needs to have this attribute, the style attribute, and that kind of gets unwieldy, because what you really want is to have styles that you can say that, okay, I want some way of just, without copy pasting all over the place all these styles that I have for, say, a button or something to each of these tags. I just want to either have one tag that represents this button the way it should look, or some way of extracting the styling to some common thing, and then use that like all these colors and these borders and like the font and stuff. Like I want that to just be a label or something that I can slap on each of the button elements in my HTML document. And that was the birth to CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets. So that's basically what CSS is. CSS is just a file format that you can link to in your HTML document. Now usually if you go to any web page and you right click and you select inspect, you will be able to see all the HTML in your developer tool. And you can go to the head tag of your web page, and you can see in that page that there's going to be so-called link tags, and one of these link tags is most likely going to have a reference to a CSS file, something like a /something /something main.css or styles.css, something like that. And that is, if you open that file and you look at it, that is the CSS file. Now, all that's happened is that, well, in broad terms now, is that we have moved the styling that used to be inside of the HTML into that file instead. So we can express that, hey, I have this button class or tag, if you will, which is a CSS thing. I have this thing, right? And I have a bunch of styles, and any element that I add this label to or this class to is going to have those styles, and the browser understands that. And that's all CSS really is. And there's tons and tons of rules and so forth, but that's the bare bone basics of what CSS is providing with you with. So what I want you to take away from this is that all CSS really is a file format that allows you to remove the inline styles, as we call them, from your HTML and put that into a file so that you can reuse, in essence, or so you have an easier way of maintaining a lot of complicated styles in a large HTML document. So you can go to almost any web page, find a CSS file, and just go in and look at how these tags are actually created. There's IDs and select like IDs, and there are classes for the most part that you can kind of play around with. I mean, even in your local browser, you can kind of flip things off and flip them on and flip them on or flip them off just in your local environment, because it's just a file on your file system that the browser understands and expresses basically what styles should be associated with which element. That's pretty much all it is. Have a great day.